They didn't respect you when you were bleeding for the upgrade. Not when you were waking up early. Not when you were fixing yourself in silence. Not when every day felt like dragging your broken body through wet concrete. But the moment you changed, really changed, the room changed too. That's the part nobody warns you about. Sometimes the world doesn't respond to effort. It responds when your presence stops asking for permission. And the wild part? Sung Jin-woo teaches this lesson without ever needing to explain it. By the end, the deeper answer won't be why they noticed late. It'll be what the old you was silently leaking the whole time. The cruelest part of growth? People often respect you after you stop needing them to. You know this feeling. You were already doing the hard part, reading when nobody cared, training when nobody clapped, holding yourself together in public while privately fighting boss battles in your chest. And still, people treated you like the same old version. Then one day, same habits, same goals, same face, just a little less sleep deprived, they suddenly act different. More respect, more attention, more, wow, you've changed. Like, bro, where was this energy when I was eating struggle for breakfast? That delay hurts because it makes your pain feel unseen. From behavioral psychology, people react less to stated effort and more to observable certainty. Confidence signals competence faster than explanation ever can. Early Jin-woo walks into every dungeon with apology in his posture, eyes scanning for danger, shoulders carrying fear, almost shrinking before the fight begins. Later, after countless silent repetitions, he enters spaces differently, still, measured, dangerous. The monsters didn't change first, his presence did. For the next few days, stop narrating your growth in real time. Let the work stay ugly and private. Move like the result is already decided. People don't respond to effort. They respond to the self that effort has stabilized. And that leads to the harder question. If the effort was already real, what exactly was the old you leaking? The problem was never that you were weak. It was that your identity still needed an audience. This is where it gets uncomfortable, because this is the part people could feel but couldn't explain. What people felt from the old you wasn't lack of talent. It was dependence, the subtle need to be noticed, the urge to prove you're not average, the tiny sting when nobody reacts fast enough, that weird resentment when people ignore progress you sacrificed for. So your behavior starts leaking things you never meant to show. Not because you're fake, because some part of you is still asking, am I real yet? And the room can sense that question before you ever say a word. Cognitive behavioral psychology calls this external validation dependence. When self-worth relies on outside feedback, your behavior starts adjusting itself just to be accepted. The world unconsciously reads that instability. People instinctively relax around identities that no longer need negotiation. They hesitate around people who still need mirrors to know who they are. Early Jin-woo moves like someone apologizing for existing in stronger hunter space. Every injury, every mistake, every glance from others reinforces that weak identity. But after surviving what should have broken him, something shifts. He stops moving like the weakest hunter in the room. He stops checking the room for permission. Now, every step says, I know exactly what I'm becoming. That's when the world's reaction changes. It's like the person who keeps humble bragging about how busy they are. If you're truly locked in, why does everyone need to trailer before the movie drops? Sometimes oversharing ambition is just insecurity wearing business casual. The respect was delayed because your identity still felt borrowed. Now it's owned. And once that ownership clicks, something unsettling happens. The respect you finally get can start to hurt. The most painful respect is the kind that arrives after you stopped needing it. This is where growth turns bitter. Because once people finally notice, your mind starts replaying old scenes like a cursed highlight reel, and suddenly the respect feels off. Not because it's wrong, but because it's late. Because where was this version of them when you were still becoming? When you were exhausted but invisible? When every habit felt fragile? When you were fighting not to become your old self again? Now they clap because the pain is polished. Strange how people call it confidence now. Back then, it was just caffeine, delusion, and one stubborn promise to yourself. They celebrate the finished sculpture, but never honored the hammer blows. Epictetus said, "Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views they take of them." That's the real danger. The old memories hurt more now because your mind turns them into a story. They only cared when I became valuable. But the pain is not in the delayed recognition alone. It's in the meaning bitterness attaches to it. Jinwoo's world treats him like background noise when he's weak, disposable, predictable, almost pitied. But once his standards become embodied power, the same world changes its tone overnight. Guilds want him, people watch him, rooms shift when he enters. Not because he became worthy in that moment, because his transformation finally became impossible to deny. It's like when classmates ignore the quiet kid for years, then suddenly act friendly the second he starts winning, glowing up, or building something successful. The funny thing is, people discover respect right when your stock price rises. Human nature has elite comedic timing. They weren't reacting to success. They were reacting to certainty. The room can feel your self-doubt before you ever speak. Sometimes people react to the version of you your body reveals, not the one your mind's trying to explain. You've lived this. You walk into a class, a meeting, or even a gym already shrinking, talking too fast, explaining too early, breaking eye contact first. Nothing is technically wrong, but your presence still feels like it's asking, "Do I belong here?" And people respond to that hesitation before they ever respond to your actual ability. Behavioral psychology points to a brutal truth. The body rehearses the beliefs the mind repeats. If your inner story is uncertain, your nervous system leaks it through movement, pace, posture, stillness, speech rhythm. This is why Jinwoo's transformation becomes visible before anyone understands his power. At first, every movement feels reactive. Eyes scanning, posture braced, a body still surviving the weakest identity. But later, something changes. He becomes slower, his gaze settles, his shoulders open, his pauses linger. That stillness becomes more intimidating than strength. The room reads the verdict before the fight begins. It's like the student who knows the answer, but still says it like a question. Same intelligence, different nervous system. And somehow, the louder, less prepared person gets taken more seriously. Brutal, but human. That's what changed. Your body stopped asking for proof. The pauses got cleaner. The speech got slower. The shoulders stopped carrying an apology. And once your nervous system stops broadcasting doubt, the room reflects a different version of you. Sometimes respect begins in the body, long before it reaches your results. So for the next few days, move like the outcome is already decided. Slow your speech. Let silence land. Stop explaining the work before it's visible. Because the room usually mirrors the identity your body has already accepted. Now, here's the final thing the old you used to leak: the need for visible proof before your identity felt real. It's when reality gives you no reason to trust the process. That's where most people lose the new self. You go to the gym for weeks and the mirror barely changes. You build better habits, but life still feels the same. That's the moment doubt starts bargaining. Maybe this isn't working. Maybe I'm still the same person. And little by little, the old identity finds its way back in. Self-determination psychology explains the trap. When behavior depends on outside rewards, consistency dies the moment the reward is delayed. But when the standard becomes internal, the identity survives uncertainty. That's the difference between motivation and real self-belief. This is what makes Jinwoo's growth feel different. He keeps leveling before anyone else can see what he's becoming. The dungeons, the shadows, the solo battles. The system may show the numbers, but the world still can't see the person those repetitions are building. That's why his growth feels lonely, but inevitable. It's like the creator posting for months with no breakout video, same obsession, same better edits, same invisible skill jump. The numbers stay flat, and suddenly your brain tells you the whole journey was fake. That's where most people slip back into the old version. A lot of people stop right before the identity becomes real. That's why the respect came late. Before, your belief in yourself kept rising and falling with the results. So people were never meeting something stable. But the moment you kept going, even when life gave you nothing back, the change became real. Not because the results showed up, because you stopped letting silence change your standards. And that's when other people finally felt the difference too. When progress feels invisible, remind yourself, visibility is not validity. Let your consistency decide who you are before the results do. Identity becomes real the moment you stop needing proof. So why did they only respect the new you? Because this is the first version of you that no longer needed the room to tell you who you were. That's what changed. The old you kept checking for proof. This version kept going anyway. And people can feel the difference between someone becoming and someone who already decided. So, if the respect came late, let it. Some people only recognize the change after it becomes impossible to ignore. So, keep building in the dark. Let the standard stay quiet. Let reality speak when it's ready. Because by the time they finally see it, you won't need them to anymore.